Welcome to the Pursuit of Constant Improvement podcast. In today's episode, we're again in a different location. We're in Phuket, Thailand. I've just recorded another episode of Q&A. If you've not listened to it already, go back. It was 2 weeks ago it was released. But again, I record these podcast episodes 2 at a time, so you can go and listen to that there. It was a great episode, in my humble opinion. But of course, you can let me know. 3 weeks in Thailand. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some of my biggest lessons from living here in Thailand so far, particularly on building optimism and resilience. Because I had this incredible experience, which most people would maybe not see it that way, but it basically allowed me to practice everything that I've been learning for the past 7 years of my own self-improvement. It brought a lot of lessons that I've spoke about to the front of, in fact, straight into my life and be like, okay, how are you going to deal with this? So I've got a lot of lessons to share with you in that. And I'm really excited for this. So resilience, optimism, if that's 2 things you want to be known as, then this episode is for you. I'm excited for this. Now, of course, I've been living here in Thailand for 3 weeks. I'm going to be here 3 months in total. And I'm going to walk you through a kind of story here. Now, I mentioned it briefly in the last episode, something that happened to me. I'm going to walk you through how that happened and what I learned from that, because it was a huge, huge learning, again, on resilience, on optimism, on these things that I've always thought of being. But this was a true test of that. And I picked up so many things from that. There's things that I've learned before, but there's a really key point to this. We never truly understand something until we first experience it. Now, I experienced a lot of, basically I was dealt a hand. I was like, right, how are you going to respond to this? I could have been negative, I could have been pessimistic, but I chose to be optimistic and I chose to be resilient. And now I'm filled with gratitude because of this situation. So I'm going to talk all about that today. So I've split this into 2, 3, 4 parts. And I'm actually quite intrigued at this one to see how this goes, to see how this flows. I'm really excited about it, but we'll dive right into it, because part 1 is when we make plans, God laughs. So I need to take you back to my second day in Thailand. So of course I just flew to the other side of the world to live for 3 months by myself. My first time ever being away from home for more than 2 nights by myself. No friends, no family, just me. So I got to Thailand. I'd already been in Dubai for a day. I was in Bangkok, one of the busiest cities in the world. I was in an area where nobody spoke English. It was like kind of the outskirts of Bangkok, which didn't really faze me at the time. It was fine, but obviously straight away you're faced with loneliness. And a lot of questions coming in your head, like, oh Christ, am I going to like this for 3 months? Have I made the right decision here? Whatever. But anyway, first day, really good, enjoyed it. On day 3, I was due to run Bangkok Marathon, something that I'd been training for months. I'd been going on 3 and 4 hour runs every week for the past 6, 8 weeks before I'd flew out here. I'd been training 2, 3, 4 times a week, running. Basically, a lot of effort built up to this event. I really wanted to run Bangkok Marathon. Because what a story. What you'd be able to tell people, oh, I've ran Bangkok Marathon. How many people I told about it? Like, all my old clients knew about it. Oh, I'm running Bangkok Marathon the first week I get there. If they say, oh, let me know how you get on with it. I can't wait to hear about it. So I had this built up in my head, that I was going to have done it. I've ticked off my first marathon. It was the other side of the world. What a great story. What a great thing. So in my head, it was essentially almost ticked off from there. Of course, I had plans to train Muay Thai every single day, to improve my Muay Thai as best as possible, to weight train every day, to do all of these things. Now, on day 2, I came home from the shop. I had this room. Now, the room I was staying in was an Airbnb, 2 separate rooms. What we had was the bedroom and then a kitchen, which then attached onto a bathroom. And there was a glass sliding door that separated the 2 rooms. And what did I do? I came back, stone cold sober, by the way, in the middle of the day. I put a bag down, turned to walk into the room, and both, I hit my knee off this glass sliding door, which I must have shut. I kept it open the whole time, but for some reason, whatever reason, I chose to shut it. Anyway, my knee hit off it. It all shattered, right? It shattered. The very second it shattered, I looked down. When I looked down, I just seen blood pour out of my leg. So there was glass still kind of stuck in my leg, and it like fell out a second or 2 later. Blood poured down my leg. So initially, now this sounds ridiculous, right? But my initial response was, oh my God, I'm going to die, right? Sounds over dramatic, but if you'd seen the blood, it was wild. I'd never experienced anything like it. I'm on the other side of the world. I don't speak Thai. I don't know how to get to Thailand. I don't know where the nearest hospital is. What number do you phone? Like, imagine that. And this is ridiculous bleeding. I had assumed, I was like, oh, you've severed an artery. You're going to die. which, by the way, if you know the femoral artery, it's at the side of the leg. So this was right above my knee. So I hadn't done that. But anyway, that was the initial emotional response that you get. But anyway, after that, these first couple of seconds, I switched. I knew that I had a pack of like tissues almost that they gave me when I checked in to dry my hands. So there was them in the bathroom. So straight away, my brain was like, right, grab them, fired the whole thing on my knee. I was like, right, grab your insurance, grab your passport, put it in a bag, we're finding a hospital. So at the time, obviously, the adrenaline's going, I'm trying to walk, I'm jumping over broken glass, I'm grabbing my bag, I put my passport in it, I put my insurance in it, and then I get out, I open the door till I'm limping out, and this woman runs down and she's like screaming, she's like, oh my God, what happened? But in Thai, I assume that's how she was saying. And I was like, okay, it's okay, it's fine, I need to go to a hospital. I'm trying to say this to her, and she's like panicking, and then she's like looking in, and she sees the broken glass, and I'm like, listen, I'm trying to explain this to her, but of course she's Thai. So then I thought, right, how do I explain this to her? Show her. Like, literally show her the marks in your leg. So I move the tissue, the blood pours down my leg, and she's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. But as you can see, I need to go to a hospital. And she obviously picked up and she's like, okay, whatever. So she runs away. She gets people. 2 people come out. And they're like, oh, are you okay? And they see it. And the guy's like, oh, no. So he grabs me a seat. He sits me down. He spoke the tiniest bit of English. I used Google Translate. I was like, I need to go to a hospital. So after about 5 minutes of talking back and forth, we managed to, well, what I'd hoped, they'd phoned an ambulance. I had no idea because, again, they couldn't speak English. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, right, what do I do here? What's the next best steps? And I was actually proud of myself. So I was like, listen, you've not panicked apart from the initial 5 to 10 seconds. You're stopping the bleeding. You will get to a hospital one way or another. So I was sitting there. I was checking the blood was stopping, but then, oh my God, if you've seen it on my Instagram story, you would have seen it, how deep these cuts were. So there was 4 slices in my leg. It was unbelievable. So straight away, I knew I couldn't run the marathon. I was like, well, those are too deep. Those are going to need stitches. And then, of course, straight away, my mind went, oh, what if it gets infected? What if you can't do Muay Thai for weeks? What if you can't do the whole time you're here? All of these things. But anyway, so the woman comes back. 15 minutes later, an ambulance turns up. So I was like, wow, this is great. So these medics come in. They put me in this chair. And like, because obviously they looked at me, I'm sitting there and I'm covering it. So they don't know if it's good or bad. So like, well, what's the problem? And I moved. He's like, okay, right, let's get out. So they picked me up, they put me on this chair, they took me out, and the ambulance was hilarious, right? It was like this old, I don't even know what it was like. It was like a disco bus. It was so weird. And I'm sitting there in this, I'm thinking, oh no, like, what if my insurance doesn't cover this? How's this going to work? How expensive is it going to be? All of these things. Anyway, I go to the hospital, they stitch up. I got 24 stitches in my leg. Long story short, I could not run the marathon. In fact, the day after, I couldn't sleep that night when the anaesthetics started to wear off. It was uncomfortable. I wouldn't say it was painful as such. I just couldn't really move my leg. I couldn't walk for 4 days. So the rest of the days I was in Bangkok, I could barely walk. I had to limp everywhere. It was the slowest I've ever walked in my life. So trying to walk around Bangkok, you're worried the stitches are going to burst open. You can see blood in the bandages. Anyway, I painted the picture. I had this situation where I had made all these plans. I was running Bangkok Marathon. I was going to fly to Phuket. I was going to train twice a day in Muay Thai. I was going to do all these things. I was going to be in the best shape of my life, everything. And as I mentioned for part 1, is the lesson is when we make plans, God laughs. Now, if you're religious or not, I'm not. You don't need to be. The whole point behind that is we are very quick to make plans in life. However, things happen that are out of our control. What usually happens is people make plans. When those plans don't become a reality, they blame everything else. They say, oh, well, I wanted this should have happened, this should have been this way, this should have been that way. That isn't how life works. Shit happens. Again, we make plans, God laughs. So this whole situation to me basically highlighted nothing is guaranteed, and you should never believe anything is guaranteed. So what I could have done then is been like, oh, the victim, oh, I should have been able to run the marathon. Oh, why was that not tempered glass? I was the idiot that walked into it, by the way. But again, this is how I could have read it. Oh, why was it not tempered glass? Oh, why did this happen to happen? Oh, what are the chances of that? Oh, my second day here. Oh, I should just go home. It's a bad sign. Bull fucking shit, right? That's the end of the day. Like, again, nothing is guaranteed. So having that attitude that you are owed something or that something is not your fault or anything is utter bullshit. So again, this is one of the big reminders to me. Nothing is guaranteed. If you desire and you need everything to follow through in a certain way, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be resilient. You're never going to be optimistic. So the big lesson for me was that. If you don't need anything I didn't need to run that marathon. Did I want to? Yes, but I didn't need that. I didn't need to train Muay Thai every day because I knew these things could be taken away from me at any time. Whereas if you need all these things and you need everything to work out in a certain way, you're the exact opposite of resilient. You are fragile because so many things can happen and put you off course and then you don't know what to do. Whereas if you're resilient, you don't desire these things, you do not need anything. And that's the powerful mindset that I learned from there, because what I focus on, because I could have been like this, right? Oh, I trained, I think all the hours I put into training, and I don't even get to do the marathon, so I can't say I run the marathon and all this off, wasted the money in the marathon and everything like that. Again, bullshit. Focus on output, not on outcome. The outcome of that is the marathon. However, no growth happens from the marathon itself. The growth comes from the output. All that training that I'd done for months, all those 3 and 4 hour runs that I'd done from Braidwood to Motherwell and back in the shitty weather with shoes that were basically falling apart, with no music on in the rain, that made me better. It made me fitter. It made me more mentally resilient. All these things, it's the output, the things that you put out that make you better. So the resilience that I built through the training, that's something to be grateful for. That is what I have to focus on. Whereas if you don't focus on that, on the output, and you focus purely on the outcome of, running the marathon, and you don't get that, of course you're going to be upset. However, that is out of our control at the end of the day, which takes us nicely onto part 2. Focus only on what you can control, which is always, how can you respond to this? The core lesson of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. Things are within our control, some things are without our control. Ultimately, the only thing that is always within our control is how we choose to respond to things. So part 2 of this story for me was, what am I going to do? I can't run the marathon, I can barely walk, I can't train Muay Thai. How are you going to choose to respond to that? Am I going to be a complainer? Am I going to be pessimistic? Am I going to say, oh, well, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, there's no point in me even being here, I'm going to have to sit in my room, I'm going to have to do this or do that, I'm going to be bored, I'm going to feel lonely and all this? Or could I be courageous? Could I say, well, listen, regardless of that, I'm going to have the best time possible. I'm going to put more time into my work. I'm still going to weight train. I'm going to do more reading. I'm going to do all these things. All the things that I was going to do anyway, I'm going to put more time and effort into them. Because that's how I chose to respond to it. I have fucking zero time for negativity. I honestly don't. Negativity brings no good into anybody's life. Anybody that was close to me at that time would not have heard an ounce of negativity. I did not say, oh, I really want to run the marathon. Oh, I can't believe I can't run it. Oh, I can't believe I can't train Muay Thai for 2 weeks. That did not even, did it cross my mind? I would probably be lying if I told you it didn't. Okay, those thoughts coming through my head. Did I speak them into existence? No, never. Never once did I complain, because it's bullshit. Nothing good comes from complaining. So again, you have the choice. Whatever happens to you in life, you can choose to respond to it with courage, or you can choose to be, for lack of better words, a little bitch about it and say, oh, well, I wanted this to happen, this could have happened, and you can complain and you can be negative. But from my perspective, negative brings nothing good into our life. You can choose to be negative. When you start to be negative and speak it aloud, that is your choice. That is you that's bringing that pain and discomfort into your life. The initial thing that happened, yes, might be a little bit painful. There might be a little bit of grief around it, whatever the situation is. However, you make that grief or pain worse by being negative about it. So again, that is how you can choose. You can choose how to respond to that. If you want to make your own suffering worse, be my guest, be negative. I ain't got time for that. I'm not fucking giving into that. I'm not doing that. Anybody who said to me, oh, you must be gutted, you must be that, I'm like, nah, I'm fine. I'll just put more time into the business. Which takes us on to part number 3. So I'd chosen how I was going to respond. I was going to be optimistic. I was going to look at the good in it, which is the exact point that I want to highlight here. This thing happened to me, which most people say is negative. Part 3 is good. Simple as that. There's this incredible video online of Jocko Willink. If you search in Jocko and good on YouTube, it will come up. It's like a short 3-minute episode from a podcast. And the way he explains it is, he was basically very high up in the army, and he had a team, and people would come to him and say, oh, boss, we can't go and we can't go do the mission, we've not been approved, or we've not got this ammunition, we've not got this. And he responded every single time, good. And somebody came up to him one day and he said, listen, this has happened, but I already know what you're going to say. And he says, what am I going to say? And he says, you're going to say good. And he says, you're right, I am. And he says, why is that? Why do you always respond good? And it's because it says, every single thing that happens to us in life can be good. Now, you think of the most negative times in your life. Yes, the negativity will seem overwhelming, especially initially. Everybody is going to grieve and go through a process. However, there is always good in everything. To bring it back to my situation, can't run? Good. More time to put in the business. Can't go to Muay Thai? Great. It's another hour and a half saved. Do some more reading. Do some more work in your mind. Do some more meditating. Do some more journaling. Like, I had all these things that I couldn't do. Good. And that comes back to the idea of the dichotomy of control. How are you going to respond to this? And I chose to respond by saying good. Because as I said before, I have no fucking time to be negative about things, because nothing good comes from that. So next time you're faced with something in life where it seems negative, look for the tiny aspect of good in it. Again, I couldn't train Muay Thai. I couldn't go and run the marathon that I'd spent money on. I was limping around for almost weeks. Good. More time to work on the business. More time to read. More time to sit and be present. In the sun, you're in the most beautiful part of the world. What the fuck do I have to complain of? People are going through horrible things in this world. 24 stitches is nothing. So again, we always have to bring it back to that. You can choose how you see things. If you see something as good or you see something as bad, you can choose to emphasize the good. Okay, it's literally, it comes back to our own perception of it from there. So the bad may outweigh the good, but you can still choose to focus on that aspect of it, on the good part of it. Part number 4, this too shall pass. With everything in life, things pass. Think of your biggest worry, let's say 9 months ago, the thing that you were worrying about most. You probably can't. You probably don't remember. Because this too shall pass. I repeat this to my clients all the time. See this element of negativity you're feeling right now? See this negativity of doubt or grief or pain? This too shall pass. Everything passes. Now, is that going to be a solution to everything? No, but it's a great thing that you have to understand. I had to remind myself of that. And this is something that I'd practiced for years. I'd always told people about it in physical situations, like, oh, you're injured right now, this too shall pass, keep positive, be resilient, What fucking happened to me now? So now I'm in that situation. So now I have to do the same thing, understand that this too shall pass. 3 weeks later, I've got my stitches out. I just got back to Muay Thai 2 days ago. It feels unbelievable. Every single aspect of it was worth it. The element of gratitude that I have now that all of that has passed and I've been through that experience. I couldn't train Thai for weeks. I could barely walk for a few. In fact, I could not shower properly for 3 weeks. You can't get stitches wet. You can't get the bandages wet through risk of infection and everything else. I literally, as stupid as this sounds, had to shower like one leg up. It was ridiculous. I was like 20 minutes in the shower. It was a pain in the arse. But again, what does that make me? Did I focus on that and say, oh, this is terrible? Or do I think, holy shit, I'm grateful for the times when you don't even think about it, you just walk in the shower. Now it's amazing. These things, like all the time that I save, it's incredible. So it comes back to that. This too shall pass. Remember that. And you'll be grateful for absolutely everything you have in abundance from there. So right now, I have zero negativity towards what happened to my knee, the fact I couldn't train Muay Thai, the fact it probably cost me money, all of these things, all the things that I potentially missed out on, because quote unquote, it's allowed me to build my resilience, build my level of optimism, and put to the test the things that I've been practicing for years. So this has been nothing but good. This is good. Again, just to summarize those things. We make plans, God laughs. Never let your happiness be tied to an end outcome or an event. Focus on your output, not the outcome. If I focused on the event and said, I will become happy when I run the Bangkok Marathon, I wouldn't be happy. I'd be very upset. However, the fact that I focus on the output, how the training made me, how I'm going to respond to this circumstance, I can still be happy and optimistic and resilient. The next point, focus on what you can control. Inevitably, how will you respond? That was empowering to me. This was right, okay, this is going to be pretty uncomfortable for a few days. How are you going to respond to this? With optimism and resilience? I did. And there you go. Good. Part number 3. There is good in everything. It just depends if you choose to see it that way or not. So you can be the type of person that looks at the negative, that complains, or you can be the type of person who looks for the good in everything. It's up to you. And the last part 4, this too shall pass. Everything passes in life. The biggest stresses you had 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago are distant memories. Things will pass. If you choose to respond to them in the best way possible, that is how you will develop optimism. That is how you will develop resilience. And at the end of the day, my big takeaway from this is shit will happen to you. Things will happen that are out of your control, things that you don't want to happen. It comes back to everything we spoke about. How are you going to respond to this? It's the big fucking question. It's the question I have for you right now. Whatever you're going through in life, how are you going to respond to this? Because how you respond to that will dictate if you do build resilience, if you do build optimism. And I always say that there's a great quote, and it's basically, I don't judge people by what happens to them, I judge them by how they respond to it. You will make mistakes, so will I. How will you respond to that? That's how I would judge people, and that's how you should judge not only others, but yourself, by how you respond to things. Now, the quote to finish today's episode is one of my favourites. It's a Marcus Aurelius quote, and it goes like this. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. And you think of that. Obstacles, people see them as bad things. Oh, there's an obstacle in the way. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Oh, I'll just have to quit. Bullshit. The obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the good thing. Something happens in life and there's an obstacle. Great, you have to overcome it. Guess what happens when you overcome obstacles? Growth and improvement. It's uncomfortable, I get it. It feels uncomfortable, but that's where the good things happen in life. If you don't overcome obstacles and you quit every time you face an obstacle, guess what? You're not going to be very happy with where you end up in life. So again, the obstacle is the way. You look at it from that way. That is an optimistic, that is a resilient attitude. And again, struggle itself. That's how we build resilience. Mine was, listen, by no means am I saying that was the worst thing in the world. It was an experience I wanted to talk about, right? A lot of worse things could have happened to me. However, it was struggle, and it did give me a chance to practice resilience. All the things I spoke about today, it gave me a chance to practice. And I would have never been able to practice any of that unless I chose to see it that way. Now, a couple of things for you. I have a newsletter which just recently launched. It's called The Best Day of the Week, which of course is a Monday. Now, part of that relates to optimism, because seeing Monday as the best day of the week is an optimistic attitude. And if you know me, you'll know I've said that for years now. Monday is the best day of the week. As the start of the week, I review my weeks, I plan my week ahead, and Monday is the day when I get to put that shit into action. I love it. Everybody sees Monday as a bad thing, as a negative thing. I don't. Because you can choose to see it as a negative thing or you can choose to see it as a positive thing. If you want to sign up to the email newsletter, you'll get an email once per week, and I will be sharing wisdom and motivation on fitness and self-improvement. You can sign up to it in the description below. And if you're interested in my one-to-one fitness and self-improvement coaching, the best place to reach me is Instagram. I am a normal human. Reach out to me. I would love to speak to you about it. If there's any element of your fitness and self-improvement, if you want to become a better fucking person, I can help you do that through fitness, through self-improvement. So reach out to me on Instagram. But again, that's another episode from Phuket. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you gained some value from this. And whatever you gained, I hope you apply it to your own pursuit of constant improvement. Thank you for listening.